I wanted to make a short little video. Actually, this is a live stream. Reason I'm doing this is because I'm running out of memory on my phone. I would have just done a video, but I just don't have the time or the space for it on my phone right now. So I put a post up today. This is so a lot of people were waiting for my video on why I took a little bit of a break from YouTube and all that stuff. And this is not really going to be that video. That video is probably going to be members only because, quite honestly, my business is not something that everybody should be privy to. There should be a paywall behind it, so there will be, or in front of it rather. But I will explain a little bit in this. So first things first, I put a post up today about how the people who have listened to me throughout the years and taken I wouldn't call it advice, but what I've said have fared really well, especially in this inflationary environment. Now, because of the quote unquote hypothetical clickbait Mid East peace deal, silver and gold mooned this morning and then got tamped down. But this is what happens with gold and silver: is whenever they make huge gains, there's always pullback before the next climb starts. So silver got over $51 an ounce. Now it's about 49 something again. No biggie. It was that yesterday. Um, and gold is 3,900 something right now. It dipped a little bit. No big deal at all. But like I said, during the pandemic, I was buying gold for anywhere between 1,600 to the most I ever paid was 1,900 an ounce. Add the premium, and you're looking at maybe about 2,000 an ounce. It's over basically double that now. Over double that when I paid 1,600. Silver during the pandemic, even with that silver squeeze in 2021, it didn't even go above 30. But before then, in 2020, when the markets tumbled in the spring of 2020, silver was down below 20. I had bought, I think the cheapest I bought maybe like, oh man, I can't remember correctly, maybe like 14, 15 an ounce, 19 an ounce, something like that. Everybody was laughing at me then. Everybody. I remember I was visiting my family at the time and we were going, every time we went out, I'm like, hey, can we stop at the post office? I got to mail this money order, to, Monument Metals or, JM Bullion or whatever. And my mom was just like, okay, whatever. And now I talked to her on the phone the other day. I said, hey, mom, you remember during COVID, when I was buying all those metals? And she said, yeah. I said, have you looked at the price recently? And she said, damn. So I said, this is why you listen to your son. Very few people have the Midas touch when it comes to buying at the right time and selling at the right time or holding for their whole life. My whole thing with precious metals is if you can, hold on to it and give it to your next of kin, your descendants. Only sell it if you really need it. I mean, only sell it if you're out of Federal Reserve notes. Otherwise, use Federal Reserve notes for everything else. Who cares? It's what it's for. Anyways, like I said, for those of you who actually have listened to me, feel free to reach out to me. Email me at thesoftspoken@gmail.com and tell me that you listened and how it benefited you. I don't want to be the only one who's winning, who's got a bunch of assets, who lives on his own land that's, paid for, in my house that I built myself that's paid for, debt free. I don't want to be the only winner, man. Like, I will be if I have to, but why be the only winner when other people can win with you, you know? So, and if you didn't, again, like I said, you still can win. It's just getting a little tougher, you know? Um, but, the psychological resistance with silver, even getting over 50 this morning, is huge. And a lot of people are claiming, analysts are claiming the breakout to 100 will be that much more probable. So, anyways, and like I said, for those of you who have listened, or those of you who now, years down the line, can see that your boy was right and that what I said was not only right but profitable, at least keeping up with inflation and then more, why haven't you read the books yet? A lot of people, and I think over this, I have a tally in my computer. I've sold books to, I want to say, and I have, I don't know, 9,000 something subscribers right now, 9,900 something or whatever. 9,800, 9,900 something, doesn't matter. I've sold books to 800 plus subscribers, and some of them have read the whole series. Why is that so low? See, I get it. People are cheap. People don't want to invest in themselves, especially when it's precarious. Oh, why would I trust this guy? Well, I don't know because I've got shinies on my hands. I've got shinies on my neck. I live in a debt-free house on debt-free land that I bought and I built and did everything. I mean, there's only so much proof you can give people before you just tell them, dude, you're dead in the water. If you don't even believe me now, I understand in 2020 not really wanting to believe me because you didn't know me. But in 2025, you've been listening to my content for years and you haven't read any of my books yet, and you see what I've done. Me moving from California after I sold my self built off grid cabin and then buying my house in Arizona and then strategically selling it for double what I paid for it to come over here to Arkansas. Like, you've experienced and seen all this and you're still not convinced. Those people can't be convinced. So, anyways, this channel now, I finally have to pump the brakes and I have to tell people I've talked about everything I want to talk about. I could make this a current events channel. I really don't want to. I want to talk about all the stuff that's in my books. All the stuff I can't really talk about on YouTube except for it being coded. That's the stuff that interests me. What I'm offering right now is if you've bought my books in the past, I'm going to invite you onto my private Discord server. Now, there's my private Discord server, then there's the Patreon that's on my Discord server because I was banned from Patreon 2 years ago. That Patreon channel is for pay. Every month there's a paywall for there. But for my general private Discord server, if you've read my books, I will invite you onto that channel for free. That's what I'm going to do. I want to segue off YouTube. I don't like YouTube. I've never been a YouTube guy. I've only got on YouTube because, like I said, I write books. I like to write books and I like to sell them. If I were a multi millionaire, I'd merely share them, but I'm not. So I have to sell them. But I do love to write books. The only reason my YouTube is here is a promotion wing for my books. And I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, I don't want to read your books, you grifter, blah, or whatever. But my books actually will help you. All you need to do is get on the server and talk to people who have read them. And that'll tell you all you need to know. But anyways, this channel is all going to be about my books, the information found within my books, the esoteric stuff about the laws of nature, hidden laws of nature, stuff that'll help you live well, not only materially, but get you positioned spiritually so that you can get through what's coming, which is the greatest depression. So, look, I'm not going to say it negatively or combatively, but if that's not something you're interested in, you can stay here if you want. I'm not kicking you out, but you just might not get anything out of it if that's something that doesn't interest you. So I want to make this centered on the topics in my books. Um, I just had a long conversation with the person on the phone, so I am going to be tripping over my words because I really shouldn't even be talking right now. But that's what it's about. So, like I said, you know, I want my subscribers to read my books. Yes, it puts Federal Reserve notes in my pocket that I then go put into whatever I want to do. Yes, that's what I get out of it. But what you get out of it is it gets you on the level because then you can know what's going on. Now, in the beginning of the pandemic, I made a video called, COVID-19 is a heat-seeking biological or debt-based bioweapon or whatever. And people didn't know what that meant. Now they do. Now they do. When I told you guys at the beginning of the pandemic what it was shaping up to be, what it was going to create, and it's all come to pass. So basically, what I want to do is I want to pare down my channel to the people who actually kind of see things in a similar way to me, or at least are curious and they want to know more. I'm not making a cult. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm not trying to get you to wear a robe and fast and pray with me in the desert. I'm not trying to do any of that. So don't think that's what it is. But that's what I want to do. So if that's something that doesn't interest you, that's totally cool. It doesn't bother me. My channel was always supposed to be small, anyways, and I mean small. I was having more fun with this channel when I had less than 2,000 subscribers, to be honest, because the uh, the communication was real high level and the interaction was real high level. It was really good back then, 2020, early 2021. After that, it got in. And I've got I haven't responded to this. Somebody sent me a video going, "Oh, he was joking like, oh, Softspoken Shaman, you fell off, you know." And this is a personal friend of mine, so I was laughing like, "Yeah, man, you know." But the thing is, I didn't fall off. I took time away from YouTube because I said, I've already achieved what I wanted. I achieved the piece of land I wanted. I literally manifested it with my labor. I achieved the house that I built, and I'm still not done with it, but I'm close. I achieved everything I wanted. So what's the point? You know, I don't want to be a commentary channel. I could do it for easy money if I wanted to, but I don't. You know, I want it to be about the real stuff. So, yeah, for those of you who go, "Oh, I knew it, you fell off." Well, no, I walked away of my own volition, of my own accord, because I wanted to. You know, I just got sick of it, man. I got sick of it. You know, the interaction with people just wasn't good. There's always been the ride or die people with my content who those people I intensely appreciate, and they've been really cool, and I've been so happy to touch those people's lives positively and watch them better their lives, start their businesses, you know, learn how to learn skills, you know, learn how to work with their hands, learn how to use their brain, and navigate this world in a way that makes it so they're not in debt peonage for the rest of their life, you know. That's what interests me. But I'm going to tell you one story right now of something bad that happened a couple months back, and that's caused me to want to recede from YouTube. This isn't the only thing. There's been a couple people. You guys might know what geolocation is. It's huge on YouTube, on TikTok rather. There's a guy named Rainbolt. Geolocation is basically like a brand of autism with people who you can show them a picture of anywhere on Earth, and they'll basically tell you where it is. Well, a couple months back, I had come back to my house after some errands. And my driveway is about 550 feet. You know, my house is set back off the road very far. So I have the high ground. I can see who's coming and going. You know, I did that not because I'm paranoid, but because I like that. I like having the high ground. You know, having the high ground is not just for, uh, outlaws or whatever. It's for everybody. You know, if you're thinking with your brain, you know, if you don't live in a flat location, you know, I got out of the vehicle and I got to my front door, and there was a gentleman, we'll call him that, at my front door. And I proceeded to ask that person, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And I backed up to my vehicle and I retrieved a self defense appliance. That's the only thing I can call it on YouTube. And the person was babbling. I produced the self defense appliance. I pointed it at them. I said, "Get on the ground. Let me see your hands. Let me see your feet. Spread out like a snow angel. Head down. I'm not going to harm you. I'm going to call the police right now." And that's what I did. And I got on the phone with the police, and it took them, because I live in the country, it took them about 40 minutes to get there. I told him, I asked him a series of questions. "What are you doing here? What's your name? What you're doing right now is criminal trespass. I have no desire to hurt you. Please don't do anything that would make me have to hurt you. Please do not move. Do not get up. If you're uncomfortable, if you have to urinate or something like that, let me know. Uh, but, what you're doing here is very bad and wrong." So, anyways, he started talking. I could tell this was a person who didn't have bad intent. I could tell it was a person, he didn't come here to hurt me or anything. He was a person who enjoyed my content, but he was probably on the spectrum. I know he was on the spectrum. And, I was trying to tell him, I felt compassion for him. And I said, "Listen, man, like, I get it, what you did, but you can't show up at my house unannounced. You cannot do that. If I were anybody else, you could have been castle doctrine. In my state, that's allowed. I have no right to retreat. I have no duty to retreat, rather." And I told him, I said, "You better learn to be careful, man. You cannot be doing this." I'm not going to say his age, but I'm going to say his early 20s. And so the police showed up. They asked me if I wanted to press charges. And I told him, I said yes. And I told him, I said, "Listen, buddy, I'm not sorry because you did this to yourself, but you need to learn. You need to experience the consequences of your actions and learn that you cannot do this. And when you bond out, if you bond out, and if you get out of this and you're not remanded, do not come back here. I don't know how you got here, because he did not have a vehicle on my road or on my property. I don't know how he got there. I don't know. To this day, I don't even know where he's from. I tried to look him up, have no clue where he's from. I said, do not come back here ever again. Do not reach out to me in physical life. If you wish to reach out to me, you can do it over email, and you can, apologize to me, and once you convince me that you're never going to do this again, then perhaps, we can have a dialogue. Guys, this is not the first person who's done this. I had another person do this almost a year ago. And that's a story that I'll tell on for my members only live. So some people wonder, they're like, man, why is Softspoken Shaman kind of an asshole? What's this guy's deal? The reason is because I can only be so compassionate, so empathetic before I have to say this can be problematic. What if he showed up to my house with the firearm? And what if he wanted to what if he was your standard, 4chan inkwell who hates people who are not white and who produces a gun and then shoots me? That could have happened. And I'm glad it didn't happen, but it could have happened, man. That's frightening. So all I'm saying is this: a lot of people don't know how to tell the difference between the internet and real life. I don't want anybody causing a situation that causes them to get harmed, you know. Um, like the people who dox and who do what are they called? Uh, what's it called? I forget what it's called. SWATs. People who do swatting. It's all well and fun until you do it to the wrong person who doesn't know what you're doing, and then there's gunplay involved or something. I mean, you don't want that. That's horrible. So the people who reach out to me, you need to be respectful. Don't show up to my house. I'm actually really not that hard to find. Um, I'm really not that hard to find at all. I live in Northwest Arkansas. Everybody knows this, but don't show up. Don't show up here. Unless you're like friend or family, you can't show up here. And the other story I'll tell at some point in time, but it was another situation of a person who was like having like a dispensary marijuana psychosis, and I had been talking with him off and on for a couple years, and it was a situation that could have gone really south, and I was having to basically be this person's free therapist, which I really did not appreciate at the time, and there was some karma that got involved where some things happened to him, not by me, but just by nature, God, whatever you want to call it, that, he got his recompense. Um, so at the end of the day, guys, this is real life. I know you think it's the internet, it's a big joke. You want to say, anti Semitic things or say nasty things, but I'm telling you, there are consequences for actions. Over the course of my channel, I've had to call the police on 5 people, 2 people who I had to send cease and desist letters to, who were trying to sell my books as if they were their own, which is theft by deception and fraud. So you guys don't know the half of what I've had to deal with on this channel, and I really try to approach everything in good faith, which is why I tell people straight up, listen, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm an author. I write books, I sell them. I'm very grateful for the people who have bought my books, and I really enjoy your patronage. And that's why I have my Discord servers to talk about these topics that interest me and that I hope interest you too. But all I ask is just be respectful, just approach me in good faith, and you're really going to get the best out of me that way. But if you're going to approach me in bad faith or you're going to show up at my house, man, like I said, I've got no desire in my body to want to hurt or harm a human being or anyone for that matter. I live a really chill life, a really contemplative life. Just approach me the right way and be cool and be respectful, and we can have the good dialogues that really hallmarked what this channel was for the first year of its inception or so. Anyways, the soft-spoken shaman at gmail.com is the place to check out my books. I am in the process of ordering right now from my publisher because I don't have any physical copies left on me, and I'd like to be able to, when I make videos, I can show you guys what the book looks like tangibly, so you can see what it looks like, how the length of the books, the topics, and all that stuff. Until then, you guys are free to email me and ask, what they're about and all that. And I'll send you synopsis or tell you or whatever, and that's what it is. Anyways, the other video will be ready for my members only section shortly.